you enjoyed the last two wines. You've got the Muirkirk, which comes from a place on Felton Road in Bannockburn, and one called the Morrison, which is the last wine, which is a place called Loburn. And essentially, if you want to pare it down, if you grow wines in soils that are got a bit more clay to them, they tend to have a little bit more texture and a little bit more depth to them. Probably a little bit more that sort of silky style of texture. And if you grow wines in slightly more gravel soils, they tend to be a little bit more aromatic, maybe a little bit lighter, but a little bit tighter in structure as well. And that pretty much fits those two wines. Felton Road is probably the most well-known area in central Otago, and it's for us one of those sort of blue chip areas, and that's why we have a vineyard there. And that was the first wine, and it tends to have a really nice textural element to it, and slightly, it's got a bit of power and a little bit of concentration. And then the last wine, Morrison, is probably my favourite, but then I tend to go for wines that are a little bit more, slightly more delicate, and it's a little bit more, slightly more austere, which is probably a Protestant trait, but nevertheless that's something that in time will sort of develop and get a really nice sort of aromatics to it. And ultimately it's what you're trying to do as a winemaker. You're trying to make wines that are different, and so these two wines are quite different in style, and whether you prefer one over another really doesn't matter too much. It's all about having a sense of style and a sense of individuality. And I was asked, what's your favourite and what's the hardest thing? Well, it's really you put so much effort into growing your wines. It takes 3 or 4 years to grow some grapes in your vineyard. You make the wine, and it takes another year and a half before you get it in bottle. And then in our case, we leave it for another year and a half before we sell it. So there's a period of sort of 6 or 7 years where from where you've started to where we're tasting the wines today, and that's probably the hardest thing, because you put 6.5 years of work into a wine, and you like to think you got a thick skin, but at the end of the day, you taste the wine and someone says, "Yeah, no, I don't like that," and you're going, "Yeah, what?" It's just like, how can you possibly say that after all I've done? It's just like, you bastards. And so everybody likes a pat on the back, and so. That's probably the toughest thing, because you try and at the end of the day, I know I've got good wine, so I'm happy with it, but you want people to like it. And whether it's your friend who knows nothing about wine or someone who knows everything, it's really good. But at the end of the day, it's all about difference. So, quick minor story. We have a really good wine event in Central Otago every January. Pinot Noir celebration is about 3 days of eating and drinking, which may not be to people's liking here, I'm not so sure. But if you're good at that, it's a very good event. And last year we had the our Prime Minister turn up to the event, and he was sitting at the big table, and there was sort of 200 or 300 people, and I thought, well, this is the only opportunity that I'm going to get. So I went over and plonked myself down and started talking to the PM. And put a bottle of our wine there and poured him a glass, and we started chatting, and I was thinking, oh, this is going well. And then he turned around and talked to somebody else, and as you do, and then a couple of minutes later he turned back around again and started talking again. I was thinking, oh, this is going pretty well. Obviously quite likes the wine, obviously saying the right things, and da-da-da-da. Anyway, so turned around and spoke to somebody else, and then 5 minutes later he came back again, and I was like, oh, this is going well, and I'm saying the right things, and he's come back for some more, and things are going really, really well. Turned around, came back a 4th time, and by this stage I was just like, this is, I'm doing it well, and I was looking at my friends and just going, look and learn, boys. This is likes the wine, very interesting conversation. And then finally he just said, look, I'm really sorry, but you're sitting on my jacket. Do you mind? Get up and shake out his jacket, and on his foot, and off he went. But nevertheless, I went from a feeling of total satisfaction and arrogant glee towards my friends to mild humiliation. And that's what you get in this game. So if you feel like living the dream, just develop a thick skin, and apart from that, you'll enjoy it. So I hope you enjoyed the evening, hope you enjoy our wines. Thanks again to Robert and for supporting us, and Michael for having us here at the restaurant, and